So the next thing for us to set up is our spawner. But before we set it up, let me explain how it works. So our game is going to have several spawners, which are basically just going to be these little boxes. And when it's time for our game to spawn in a new robot, the game will randomly choose one of these boxes, and then it will choose a random spot in that box and spawn in a robot right there. Then when it's time to spawn in a new robot, it'll randomly choose another box, spawn in another new robot, and so on and so forth, until the game ends. So let's go on over to Unreal now. And we want to start by creating a blueprint for the spawner. So right click in your blueprints folder, go to blueprint class, make it an actor, and name it BP underscore spawner. Once you've got it made, double click to open it. And you should be in the viewport. If you're not, just click this viewport tab right here. Alright, click the green add component button and add a box collision component. And as far as the viewport is concerned, this is basically all we need to do. Just rename it from box to spawn zone. And that's all we need to do as far as the viewport is concerned. So drag off of the arrow here and type spawn actor from class. And what this block does is it spawns in an actor. What type of actor it spawns in, that's what's going to go in this purple. This orange will actually be easier to explain if we split it up into its separate components. So right click the orange and click split struct pin to separate it into these three pins. Spawn transform location is where this thing is going to spawn. Spawn transform rotation is which way it's going to be facing, and spawn transform scale is how big it's going to be compared to a regular one. We're not going to be using these two things. We're only going to be using these two. So let's start by changing select class to BPAI. These two pins you can just ignore. And as for spawn transform location, we're going to drag off of it and type random point in bounding box. And what that's going to do is it's going to look at a box with origin being the front top left corner and box extent being the back bottom right corner, and the box itself being everything in between those 2 points. And it's going to figure out a random spot within that box. So how do we define the box? Well, that's what we did here in the viewport. So drag in spawn zone and click get. And we're going to drag off of this twice. The first time we're going to drag off of it and just type get world location. And that goes into origin. Now we'll drag off of it again, type in get box extent, and you'll see three options: get box extent, get scaled box extent, and get unscaled box extent. We're going to use get scaled box extent. and you connect that into box extent. Make sure you're using scaled box extent, not unscaled box extent, and not just box extent. The reason why, if I come here and I put a spawner into the scene, if I just stretch it out here, you can see the area where the robot should be spawning in from. If we use scaled box extent, then we can resize the area like this. If we use unscaled box extent, it will only ever spawn from a box this big. No matter how much we play with the size in our editor, the actual spawning area will never go bigger than this, or smaller than this for that matter. Alright? So as far as our spawner goes, this is really all we need. The only thing left to do now is to determine when a new bot should spawn in. And we'll go over that in the next video.